Good evening. This is Business Today. It's the 10th of February and a very warm welcome to you. So we're bringing business personalities, we're bringing stock market updates as well as local and global stock market updates along with business stories. So join us as we take a look at some of the top stories making headlines across the globe. Let me give you a heads up on what we're going to talk about on today's show. We're going to talk about the Hambantota report having a high potential to boost tourism sectors, says a captain of a visiting cruise ship. Then we had stock market updates talking about the ASPI closing down 0.45% just today. And to sum up with international stories, the Japanese stock market falls 5% on negative interest rates. Meanwhile, the global growth rate has been projected negative once again. So those are some of the top stories across our business stories. First, we take a look at the personality on today's show. Well, we'd like to talk about something that is going to keep you safe and something that you're really worried about when it comes to quality. We're going to talk about Lanka Harness, who is a manufacturer that impacts sensor switches for seat belts, airbags for world-renowned automobile brands. It adheres to very strictly quality standard where the defect tolerance rate is just 1 for every million pieces produced. And the company boasts an annual turnover of about $25 million, and it is a great outsourcing solutions provider for automobile component manufacturers worldwide. So we have the Executive Chairman of Lanka Harness Private Limited, Mr. Rohan Pallewatha, joining us today. A very good evening to you.
Good evening.
So we are going to talk about a very crucial point, safety at the end of the day. When you're talking about electricity, safety and lots of other things, we need to stress on the importance of it. Let's talk a little bit about Lanka Harness and what sort of products they offer.
Well, the core products of my company is the impact sensor for the airbag and the seat belt switch, and also we do a product what is called the sun visor arm. So these are the three products, and the uniqueness of the business that I'm in is, as you rightly said, it's quality requirement of the product, which is called 1 ppm quality. 1 part per million is a defect tolerance rate. That is the highest level of quality anywhere in the world. So this is the kind of device that would recognize the impact and give the signal to the airbag to pop out. And as we know, this is a device that cannot fail because it's a life and death situation. So we have established the fact that it is possible to be done here in Sri Lanka.
Right, so that is who you are and what you produce. Let's trace your historical journey and how you got here right now.
Well, I studied at St. Anthony's College, Kandy, and during my school days I received a cultural exchange program scholarship to Japan, and it was the structure of the scholarship that I visit all the big conglomerates in Japan. You name it: Toyota, Honda, Mitsubishi, Canon Corporation, Matsushita Denki, which is known as National Panasonic in this part of the world. And the present business idea was conceived in my mind when I visited Toyota. The person who was explaining the process to me took me in a battery-operated silent car, and as we proceeded, I hardly saw many people. So out of inquisitiveness, I wanted to know if it was a holiday at Toyota. He said, no, it is not a holiday. We have automated most of our systems. Having said that, we proceeded further, and I could see in a room, there were about 400 people cramped in, doing something swiftly. So my next question was, what are they doing? So the answer that I got was that they were doing an impact sensor, or rather a safety device for luxury vehicles. So my simple question was, although I was just 16 at that time, why aren't you automating this process? Then the answer was that it is not a process it was a process that was labor intensive, and it was a process that cannot be automated. That is when I first conceived my idea, and then at the end of my tour, to cut it short, I will say it this way: I requested a few samples, but I did not think that Toyota would oblige anyone with samples, but maybe for two reasons. Because I was just 16 and I was on a study tour, and also the structure of the scholarship was such, I was an invitee of the Japanese government. Maybe for these two reasons they obliged me with samples, and I came back with these samples to Sri Lanka and then reverse engineered, and then it took almost 15 years to convince that this could be done here in Sri Lanka.
Right, so that is who you are and how you got there. Let's talk about location. Where are you based right now? Lanka Harness Private Limited.
We are based in Biagama, Free Trade Zone.
And how
Yeah.
long have you been there for?
We started our operations in 2002.
Right, okay. So there we go. That is a bit of a company profile just to start things off with. Like we said, we are primarily focusing on safety. And how do we guarantee safety? It is, of course, by guaranteeing good quality products. So we want to emphasize a little bit about the quality and the effort you put in to ensure that you have the highest of qualities produced in Sri Lanka.
Yeah. One way is that through compulsion, because the equation is such, either we maintain this quality or we perish. So we have to maintain, we have to have a foolproof system. Of course, there are quality checks done in process, then there is intermediate quality checking, then there is final quality checking, then there is random quality checking. Because as I said, we have to have a foolproof system, because the equation is you either maintain that quality or you walk out of your business.
Right, so we're just running through some visuals we have regarding testing of seat belts and airbags. While that is shown, let's run through some of your international customers. Who are your customers, proud customer base?
Well, the end users, I can say, in Japan, almost all the brands, you name it, Toyota, Honda, Mitsubishi, Mazda, and the list goes on. Then in Europe, Volvo, Saab, BMW, Aston Martin. Then in USA, General Motors, Ford, Chrysler. So all the big names are using the product that I manufacture right here in Sri Lanka.
Well, some big names.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about the business model you follow. If you're catering to some serious names, some serious brands, you need to guarantee the safety, guarantee the product, of course, guarantee the delivery. In this climate where everything is changing politically, environmentally, economically, you need to make sure you have a sustainable business growth model. What sort of a business model do you follow?
Well, if I quote Peter Drucker, he said a business model is a presumption of what brings money to the company. So what brings money to my company is the quality that I maintain. So most of the questions, my answer would be quality, because my business strategy is quality. Because if I do not maintain, I will be out of business. And as to why I do not have many competitors, because many people cannot sustain this quality. So the answer to your question, the business model is based on quality.
Right. And in terms of the relationship the employer has with the employee, what sort of relationship is it that you have? Do you believe in closely examining them? Do you think they should be monitored very closely? Do you think they are independent enough to maintain their own daily?
It is my experience that in order to achieve this level of quality, the employee should be independent. Because even when they put up the factory at Biagama, the architects, they wanted to know if they could fix CCTV cameras around my CCTV cameras on the production floor and have monitors around my table. I declined, because I believe the moment you fix a camera behind a human being, you encroach a human dignity, and then they start working for the wrong reason. I do not think that people should work because they are being supervised. They should work because they take pride in what they do. In order to achieve the quality that I have achieved, that mentality is very important. So if they work for the reason that they are being supervised, it will be almost impossible to achieve 1 ppm quality.
Now, moving a little bit away from your firm, from your particular company, well, the Sri Lanka Development, the Export Development Board, the SLEDB, commonly known as the EDB, that's the Export Development Board, is the premier state organization for promotion and development of exports, which you are part of, which Lanka Harness Private Limited is part of. So we're talking about your experience with the EDB here now. What do you have to say about the types of goods and services that Sri Lanka exports? And secondly, do you think that we need to focus more on exporting value-added goods?
Well, firstly, I think Professor Ricardo Hausmann, who was here for the Sri Lankan Economic Forum, he in fact, in his presentation, he came out with 2 interesting slides. That is, he came out with using different colors on a slide, showing us the export basket of Sri Lanka in 1994. And then subsequently, he showed another slide, export basket of Sri Lanka in 2014. The colors looked almost identical, similar. So which means our export basket has not changed from 1994 up to 2014 for 2 decades. So whereas he showed the example of other countries like Thailand and Malaysia, the colors that they had in 1994 were topsy-turvy when it came to 2014. So therefore, we should concentrate more on what we are good at. We should look at our strengths and develop products based on that. Because right now what we are doing is products based on simple technologies where anyone could do. So as Professor Hausmann rightly said, it is time that we deliberate as to what our strengths are, and that we deviate from the traditions we have already been having for a long time.
Well, the type of goods that you produce and in turn you export, along with the fact that the rupee has been depreciating in terms of international currency, has exacerbated this whole balance of trade issue. What are your comments about Sri Lanka's balance of trade position?
Well, I can comment about my company. I can say, because I receive in foreign currency, Japanese yen, dollars, and I do all the local payments in rupees. So when I convert it into rupees, I get more rupees, and I can sustain myself. So personally, it is good for me.
All right. So Sri Lanka by no means is an isolated country. We need to work in collaboration with lots of other multinationals, lots of other different countries and agreements. How do you think international factors affect business in Sri Lanka? We talk about international changes in politics, changes in oil prices, lots of different changes in the international arena. How does that affect your business?
Well, I think not only my business, any business would be affected by global conditions, because the factors of production, as you said, if you take what you mentioned, oil prices, the factors of production would change drastically depending on the oil prices. So that has an impact. Definitely world conditions will have an impact. But only thing is, you cannot say that the world conditions are such that we cannot compete. No, because when you have a business of your own, you are your own master. And you have to face these crunch situations at times. And you have to innovate special ways as to how you face this crunch situation. Because even in a bicycle race, when the plane is there, everyone is equal. But when the steep climb comes, leader emerges. So that is how even in business it is the case.
Well, we're in conversation with the Executive Chairman of Lanka Harness Private Limited. I'd like to turn towards you now and talk about some of the competitors that you face. It could be regionally, immediate competitors in terms of the business you're in.
Well, I can proudly say that I'm on a virtually blue ocean in the region, because I'm supplying India, I'm supplying China, and Malaysia, Indonesia, all the countries in the region. And the reason, the entry barrier for others has been, as I mentioned, the quality requirement. They can maybe achieve once, but sustain this quality is not easy. And also, once you establish your credentials with these automobile manufacturers, they will not want to take a risk and go to a new manufacturer. So they will always try to be with the manufacturer that they have always been with. So once you establish your credentials, it's smooth sailing.
Right. Okay, so I'd like to talk a little bit of some of the market trends that you have picked up over the past quarter.
Well, this is specific to me actually. There has been a recall of vehicles. In US market, it's about 38 million vehicles alone because of a defective airbag. And almost the entire replacement order has come to my company. So there is I have to double my capacity. So I have in fact started the second factory at Piagama, and also we are starting a factory in Mexico.
Right, okay, so some cool things we can look out for in the projects. Apart from that, what are some of the other interesting projects we can look out for in the near future?
Well, as I told you, one of the products that we are doing is the Sunvisor arm. Right now we are supplying it to Honda only. So we are trying to embark on other automobile makers as well with this product.
Well, in the industry that you are so dominant in, we understand that you're the market leader, but it's of course always needed to make sure that you're changing always in terms of R&D, in terms of innovation, that you're always adapting to the required place.
Yes.
How do you manage this change in lifestyles and change in technology?
Yes. Innovation is in an organization is no more a choice. It is a sine qua non. It is an indispensable thing. So even in my case, technology can always intervene and put me out of business tomorrow. So what am I doing about it? I have already spoken to some people at Slintech, and I have we had discussions to replace the function of the airbag with some nanotechnology solution. It is not easy. It's just in the air. But then, if there is because now this technology has been there for the past 40 years, but that does not guarantee that it is not going to be changed tomorrow. So, if we can come out with a solution which is more effective and cost effective, then of course I can suggest to the buyers that are buying this product from me, look here, I have a better solution. And if that happens, we are awaiting to open a gold mine.
Right. So talk about gold mines. I want to talk a little bit about the opportunities that Sri Lanka can offer in terms of labor force, in terms of raw material, in terms of the price competitiveness. What sort of opportunities and challenges do you think Sri Lanka has?
Well, taking my own organization as an example, we have achieved the Sri Lankan laborers. It's not foreigners who are coming and working in my factory. It is our own Sri Lankan brothers and sisters that are working here. So they have proved themselves that they can achieve this level of quality. And they learn very fast. Because for example, just to train a person for a Juki machine in a garment factory, in Bangladesh it takes 6 months. But in Sri Lanka it's just 3 weeks. So we cannot have a blanket view of the labor in the world, because Sri Lankan labor is intelligent labor. So that is the differentiation.
Right. So another buzzword that has taken the world around is sustainability. How does this green revolution impact you and the business you are in?
I think green revolution impacts all of us. We cannot isolate ourselves, because we all have to live in this planet. All these discussions, all this business, everything happens in this blue planet. So some of the materials that we use, we have gone completely green. For example, the solder that we use, that is lead free right now. And most of the products that we use are environmentally friendly, and actually the carbon footprint that we leave, there are no emissions whatsoever in the product that we do.
Right. So great stories coming from you. I want to talk a little bit about how your own experiences have made you stronger. I read about this whole incident about how Toyota rejected some of your proposals many times, not once but many times. How has rejection impacted you and influenced you and motivated you in turn?
Well, rejection has been part and parcel of my life. And but the point is that every time I fell, I managed to get up. And they kept on rejecting. And I had to, once I conceived this business idea, it took almost 15 years for me to convince automobile giant that I could do this product here in Sri Lanka. Because when the idea was conceived in my mind and when I communicated, I was told this particular device we will never ever impart to any other country because of its quality requirement and because the function is so bonded with the brand name, and therefore they will not impart to any other country. And they told me that the turnover of Toyota equals to about GDP of about 60 countries put together. And then they told me, why should we talk business with a country like Sri Lanka? So that was at the beginning. So, but then here I am, and so the rejection, I have to say that I have been managed to persevere in this, and there is no success that runs in a straight line. It's always ups and downs. You take the ECG for example, ups and downs are very good. Because ECG, if it is a straight line, you are no more.
That's right. So it shows that you're alive, isn't it?
Very much.
Right. And also, just to conclude things, I want to remind a quote from Lenin, all the way from Russia. He says, 1 step backwards, 2 steps forward. That is all about revolution, making a change in the lifestyle you are in right now. So we'd like to thank you very much for being with us this evening. This is Mr. Rohan Palewata, the Executive Chairman of Lanka Harness Private Limited. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Right. With that, it's time for us to move on to the second segment on tonight's show. We want to talk a little bit about entrepreneurs on Business Today Now.
Only pay attention to the final product.
Our entrepreneurs clip for the day to motivate you. That is how a small man who went door to door ended up in a multi-billion-dollar company with several flights of stairs. So we're talking about business and your road to business. Joining us now is Mr. Harsh Singha. He's the CEO of Vitro Communication. That's Business Growth Strategies. A very good evening to you, Mr. Harsh.
Good evening.
So today we want to talk about how to market your business online. As things change, people need to adapt as well to lifestyle. So your segment is to give people business tips so that they can progress and to sustain in their relevant industry. Today we want to talk a little bit about online marketing.
That's right. Online marketing is, in Sri Lanka mostly, it's not utilized to its optimal level. Meaning they spend so much money and effort on a website, but it becomes something like a static brochure, if you may. Meaning once they develop it, there is no proper strategy, process to market it. There's no way that they use the website in their marketing processes in the long run. So you develop it, you just have it, and there should be more processes involved so you can reap the best out of your online presence, because the market is huge.
Right, so there are two ways. A prospect will know about you and your company. What are the two ways?
That's right. Either the prospect becomes proactive and looks for a service, or you know where a prospect is and you go after the prospect, where the supplier becomes proactive. Now, in an instance where a prospect is, let's say, looking for a hotel at Dambulla, when they're proactive, what happens is they're going to go on Google, they're going to search hotels in Dambulla, and they're going to be going after what they want. But let's say a prospect just logs on to Facebook, and we want to access a market, a male market between 40 to 55 who are doctors. Then we should make ourselves available for that market, and hoping the prospects sees us and makes action. That's where we, the supplier, becomes proactive.
Right, so talking about online, today it's the most cost-efficient way to reach out to a wide audience, faster and in terms of price sensitivity. How do you test your audiences online?
It depends on the platform. Let me take the most commonly known platform, which is Facebook. Facebook has in Sri Lanka more than 3 million users. It knows what designations, what demographics, what areas they live in. Right? So if you're going to test a market, within a couple of seconds you can just check on the settings and basically know how many, for example, how many CEOs, directors, chairmen are there right now living in Colombo. Right? Just within a couple of seconds you can get to know that. And you can basically test a product to that market to see basically whether they're clicking on your advertisement, whether they're opting in, meaning whether they register with your, once they see that they click it, they go to a landing page, they opt in and basically use your product or service. So it's a very cost-effective strategy. Just imagine doing that offline. It's going to take quite a long time, isn't it?
Right. So another thing we're talking about online is growing every second, it's growing every day. More businesses are joining online, pumping in more resources, pumping in more money into promoting their services and products online.
Yeah.
If you don't join it, you repeat it.
Exactly. Because there's the market is so huge, the competitors are coming up every single day. I mean, just log into social media on Facebook, see how many advertisements you're seeing right now. But if you have a strategy, that's where you just, rather than being tactical and having a very laid back approach, if you know, okay, you click that link, you're going to take that person to a landing page, you're going to give some preposition, they're going to act on that preposition. If they don't act, you track them and you give another option later. That is having a strategy. If you have that in place, you will survive even in a competitive market.
Right. So when you're talking about online, critical things business owners miss out on when they are sort of launching a website. Managing a business online could be two things. One is pumping a lot of money into it. Another angle is to maintain a good website. What are some of the crucial and critical things that owners miss out when they try to hold on to a website?
One main thing is they think only about the aesthetics. Actually, aesthetic doesn't play a big part. What you should focus, the most prominent thing, is what are you having in place to capture the person's details. One tip I can give now itself is, let's say you're having a business in terms of an hair salon. In that case, there's always, when they log into the website, you can give some tips for free in return of their name and email address. So it's very, very important that you have a process involved to capture the person's email address, and after that, what you should do is you have to provide them sequentially, progressively value through emails and making them come and purchase from you one day.
Right, so somebody is saying that the most strategic way to go about this whole purchases is to make a combination of online and offline solutions to provide your prospects or customer this rich experience in terms of the products and services. What's your comment?
That's very true. The more, look, if you have more ways to market your proposition, more channels, the prospect is definitely going to take more notice, right? Offline, you can have a direct mail coming in. A couple of days, you can have an email coming in. So it's very good if you have more channels shooting in that same proposition to grab more attention.
Right. So we're talking about pumping money and resources into market your business online. Online is not only about pumping money into advertisements, Facebook or websites. We also want to talk about the role emails play here as a marketing tool and how you can use it to your advantage.
Email is used by everyone who has a computer. So it's basically the gateway for providing messages. If you can provide value through email, and if there is a process of providing your proposition in different angles, gain, logic or fear angles, and if you can have progress through a number of days, a number of weeks, you can definitely convince, you can nurture a prospect into becoming cold prospect, moderately warm and a warm prospect. And once they're warm, you can actually start selling them. Email is a trust building vehicle.
Right. With that comment, we'd like to wrap up this segment on Business Today. Thank you very much for being with us, Mr. Heshan Idrising, CEO of Vitro Communication Business Growth Strategist. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
If you have any questions regarding how to make your business more successful or how to sustain in the long run, write to us on our Business Today fan page on Facebook, which is Business Today Channel I. Today's topic was how to market your business online. That was a question that was posted to us through our viewers. So if you have any questions or queries, anything you want to pull out on next episode, do write to us on our Facebook fan page, which is Business Today Channel I. With that, we'd like to take a quick break. When we come back, we have updates from the Colombo Stock Exchange as well as other financial news. Stay with us. Welcome back. This is Business Today, the 10th of February. Thank you for being with us. Some of the top stories making headlines across boundaries today is the Hambantha report has a high potential to boost tourism sector in Sri Lanka, says a visiting captain of cruise ship. In other stories dealing with the Sri Lankan market update, the ASPI closes down 0.45%, and in Japan, the Japanese stock market has fallen 5% on negative interest rates amidst global growth. With that, we'd like to move on to the next segment on tonight's show, which is about financial planning. Joining us for a discussion tonight is Mr. Surendra Dayaratne. He's the Head of Business Development at Barclays Religare Securities Private Limited. So we're going to talk about the sense of financial planning.
Yeah, a sense of financial planning.
So let's talk a little bit about what financial planning is, because we have lots of viewers who know what a unit trust is, who know what a stock market is, but they don't really understand or appreciate planning their whole investments. What is financial planning?
I mean, it's good that, what I heard is you have a broader demographic of viewers, so it's really good that we cover this area of the topic as well. Simply speaking, Sakuni, it's managing your income and your cash flows. So the financial planning itself, it's a process of successfully managing the process of your income and your assets in a very predefined way. So it's very essential that one has a financial plan in their life so that they could move on with the areas that they are really looking forward to come in future Yeah, so it's predefined. I mean, it's basically speaking, it's managing your cash flow.
So that is
Yeah.
why we need financial planning. Who needs financial planning?
I mean, everyone needs. I mean, you, I mean, you can't say it's not. There was a myth some time back. It's only the HNIs, the ultra high net worth individuals, or the rich people needs financial planning. It's basically everyone needs financial planning. If someone is making an income or having an asset, they need to make it a clear-cut plan on their financial. So everyone needs planning. I mean, if I simply take an example of one of my previous workplaces, a clerk was telling me, I mean, how he was planning his month's needs. He used to take 500 rupees a day when he goes to work. When he comes back, if there is anything left in that 500 rupees, right, he used to take 3 pouches, 3 wallets. One is named electricity, gas, and other. So he used to put a little bit of money in each pouch, and simply after a month's time, he will see what's in the total, and he will use it. I mean, simple financial planning. You don't need very big, accountants, tax consultant coming into your planning, but you could do your simple thing. And like I said, it's everyone needs it.
So that is the lowest level of, not the lowest, but the very basic level of
Basic.
financial planning.
Yes.
But on a more open up level, how can one engage in financial planning?
I mean, if you really look at it in a broader perspective, one needs to come with a scientific asset allocation, right? You will need to select what are the asset classes you're going to put your savings in, right? You will have, like you said in your previous programs also, you have covered many asset classes. The equity one that I came up, coming into the equity market, right? Then the unit trust will have several segments of it, and also the fixed income and the savings, simply starting from a bank savings account, right? So you need to look at your different asset classes and then move on with your plan.
Well, amidst the conversation, I must ask you, what exactly is asset allocation?
Asset allocation is investing predefined percentage of your investment in different asset classes, right? So one will look at in a way different asset classes will give you returns in different time horizons. You will see the interest rate being high at certain levels, right? People will move into the fixed income asset class at times, and then you see the equity markets moving, there is more cash flow coming into the equity markets. So it's just a predefined way of putting your savings into different asset classes.
Why is asset allocation very important?
It's the main reason is the diversification, right? Thumb rule number 1 is don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? If I take one step further, also don't put your eggs in too many baskets as well, right? So the diversification and the different asset classes, like I said, will give you better returns periodically. So it's purely the diversification and to mitigate the risk involved in your investment horizon.
Right. So today's topic is the sense of financial planning. So for any required level of planning, even if it's grocery planning or shopping planning or financial planning, you need to sort of set goals and targets in order to fix what you want to do. So what do you mean by setting goals in terms of, in this backdrop of financial goals?
It's basically looking at the intention of your investment, right? And also one would have short-term, mid-term and long-term goals. Like take an example, if you are planning a educational fund, right, for your kid, right, who will probably be in 5th grade or 6th grade, right? You might want to start right away with the educational plan, right? So that will take as a long-term plan. You might have short-term, you might have mid-term goals. So it's how you set your goals and how you prioritize your goals. So that's basically the importance, because like I said, without a plan, without a finance plan, it's like putting a ship or a ship sailing without a radar, right? It's just sailing. It doesn't have any predetermined stops, right? So same way, so one need to have financial planning, because I mean, I'm talking with experience. I have my share of backdrops where without proper planning, when I started as when I was independent, so the repercussions will take much longer, right, to cure. So it's very important that one speak to the professionals who are experts in the field of investments, and also choosing a person or a firm that is giving you unbiased advice. So it's very important. So the goal settings and you talking through the experts and going forward.
Right. So one question I want to talk to you
Sure.
about is, in the financial vocabulary, how would you define the short term, the medium term, and the long term?
Okay, it will also be different to regions, but if you talk in mostly the Asians, we are talking short term is 1 to 2 years, or 2 3 years as short term. Then mid will be 3 to 5 years goes, and beyond that 5 to 10 or more than that will be long term. But if you speak to our counterparty Indians, they will say short term is 3 weeks, right? So you would never know. I mean, it just happens so that it will be on individual basis, that how you want to categorize that.
Right, so that's the broad picture.
Yeah.
That is the backdrop when it comes to financial planning in Sri Lanka. Now I want to talk a little bit about the equity asset class. How can one enter this whole equity asset class?
I mean, one need to understand what's the asset class is all about. I mean, that's I think the whole idea of you doing this program, also to make awareness. I mean, without awareness, you shouldn't be coming into equity. So, Sakuna, I think we could share this slide I have brought in. So, but like I said,
We have
I
a
mean,
pyramid we want to talk
yes,
about.
that's right. I mean, I'd like to be very clear on this. It's a pyramid that I'm using to show the steps that is involved in the investment horizon. It's not a scheme any sort. So if you talk about from the bottom of the pyramid, I probably it's clear on the screen. If we look at the very bottom of the pyramid, I mean, one needs to have a cash.
I think the base of the pyramid, the purple
yes.
tier says
yes.
income source, cash in bank, and
the
retirement.
retirement, yeah. So one needs to have some cash in the bank, a source of income, right? So that's the basic start for any financial plan. So if you don't have a job, you better find a job and start financial planning. So it's basically you have your first ground level secured like that. And if I move on to the next slide, it is securing the first level. It is, you're basically talking about bringing insurance into the picture.
So basically, this pyramid
Yeah.
depicts the risks associated. So the lower it is, the broader the base, the lower the risk.
Exactly, and also having a firm foundation. It is a must, having a firm foundation. So if you have noticed, when you come into the income level, you go to the next level by securing your first stage. So that's where actually most of the Asians and probably Sri Lankans, in a very large way, lack in securing. So you don't talk much about insurance except for your vehicle insurance, which is a mandatory requirement by the government. So people tend to take the vehicle insurance but not on life, or not even taking medical insurance for that matter, because one need to secure your income. You come into a situation where you will have situations where your dependents will be at stake. So once you pass the insurance stage, right, protecting the base, if I move on to the next slide, we can see income producing investments, right? So that's basically where you put your money in a bank savings, put on a fixed deposit, right? And also like trading in bonds, treasury bills. So these are the government security sector. So most of the Sri Lankans are very savvy in this asset class, the fixed income asset class. This is where we get stuck also, right? So your incomes will be, more than 95% of total income will be probably in this asset class, right? So moving forward, this is where it's very important that one comes with managed growth investment, right? Where you move from fixed income to the unit trust or the managed fund sector, right? So once
the orange tier.
that's the orange tier, yeah. So once you if we can move on, yeah. So those are the previous one. Now that's there. So it's the unit trust and the managed funds will give you a better return than the fixed income, right? But then there are risks involved in that, right? So you need to count all that. But what you need to understand is when you come to this level, you are already your base is secured, right? In case of any emergency fund requirement, you can pull it from the income producing investment where your capital is protected. I mean, except for systematic risk, your capital is protected. So one need not see a market condition to exit or sell their units or sell the equity portfolio. They can grab some provisions from the below asset classes. So
So are you saying that it is a requirement? First you have to have your income source, then insurance, then income producing investments, then you move on to managed growth funds. You can't skip in between tiers.
most people do.
That is the fault.
That's a
That
fault.
is not
That's
good
what.
financial planning.
That's not good financial planning, and that's where people talk about negative things about the markets, right? So where they have straight away skipped one stage of the financial planning and come into a medium risk asset, and they burn their fingers, right? So once you do that, right, you can go into direct equity, come into investing in shares, or move on to buying real estate or hard gold, since Sri Lanka still lacks the commodity investment market and options. So one could come into the shares. Now, I mean, if you really look at it, Sakuni, now this is the path for one to come into the equity. You have all those 4 stages to secure before coming to equity, right? So, but what I see, I mean, since I've been in the industry for a long period, people don't manage it so well. They come into the equity. They will probably come at a bull market, right? I think we spoke about bull and bearish markets in previous programs. People will then see they don't see the exit point. They don't have the planning. They don't have any goal set. So with the bad market conditions, if they exit, they will probably lose some of their capital as well. So this is where one needs some planning and categorizing the set of goals into predetermined time horizons and come into the market. So once you are savvy with all these investments, there is one more stage you can go into. If you go into the next slide, where we see geared investments. Basically speaking, the more used word in Sri Lanka is the margin trading, right? So once an investor comes into the equity, they will have other reasons to borrow some money from a financial institute and gear their investment and have a margin on the investment and go for more investment through a financier, right? And also then there are people, once they secure all these levels, they might, they have some free time in their hands, and they might go for some speculative investment as well, right?
What do you mean by speculative investment?
I mean, they'll be going for unregulated bettings,
Right.
go for some sort of gambling, but these are unregulated. But on top of that, right? Now if you see it once again on the slides, the higher you go on this pyramid, of course, like you earlier mentioned, the risk is high, and if we keep moving on the slides, also the return might be high as well. But then also there is ways that you can mitigate the risk, right? So the lower the pyramid, you have low risk and also low return. And if you move on, you will see what I mentioned earlier. We are all stuck in these levels. We can move on, right? We are stuck on these levels. So this is where we need to make people aware about the markets, aware about the unit trust, the mutual fund market, and make them move on to the top tier, right? So if you really go ahead, I mean, you can see, you don't need to go on to the speculative investment or even the geared investments if you move on, right? One will be very well secured within the direct investment category, where you can secure all your probably most and all your financial needs and goals. So basically speaking, this is the path that one needs to choose when they are coming into equity. It will be better for the investor, it will be better for the market as well. You won't see panic situations, right? If you have a certain emergency need, like I said, you can always go to your fixed income level, right? You'll probably lose your what you call the future interest, but not on your capital. So you can take some provisions from that, right? Secure your immediate need and just keep on your investments, the geared and the directive investment in a very secured way.
Right, so there we go. That is the importance of financial planning, and to make sure that you don't skip in between the tiers. There's a pyramid and you follow that path. Thank you very much for being with us and for that informative discussion and illustration when it comes to the financial planning pyramid. Yeah, thank you. With that, we'd like to move on. We'll go for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we have local and international stories. Welcome back. We'd like to move on to some local business stories in detail now. Leading story for you today is that Hambantota Port has high potential to boost tourism sector, says visiting captain Carsten. Sri Lanka's Hambantota Port has potential to boost the tourism sector of Sri Lanka, says Marco Carsten, the cruise ship captain of MS Rotterdam. Well, he said that the Hambantota Port was also famous as a green port among the tourists. As you can see, we're embracing some visuals of the Hambantota area and the port. It is easy to access the port for the ships of this size. It is a nice experience for us, and it is a good location for many more cruise ships. And if you want to experience this part of Sri Lanka, simply all you need to do is to stay for several days here and visit the southeast coast, says visiting captain of the cruise ship MS Rotterdam, Marco Carsten. He also added that the Hambantota Port will give an experience to the people who want to experience something from Sri Lanka other than Colombo and its surroundings, and many of them were enthusiastic to visit the Hambantota area and the port and other tourist destinations in the area, and especially to enjoy the wildlife that the area has to offer. The ship left the Hambantota Port last night, and the ship belongs to the Netherlands and measures 238 meters in length. It employed about 600 people and carried 1,176 passengers. The cruise next destination is Myanmar. Next story for you today is from the Colombo Stock Market Exchange. The ASPI closed down 0.45% today. The SPI closed at 6,371 points. That is down by 28.95 points or 0.45%, with losses reported in Ceylon Tobacco Company, John Keells Holdings and Ceylon Distilleries Company, says brokers. The ASPI trading was down by 19.43 points or 0.3%, with low investor activity and losses in Ceylon Tobacco Company and John Keells Holdings, says brokers, on the 9th of February at 10 a.m. Meanwhile, the exchange rate, Sri Lankan rupee to the US dollar, was 143 rupees and 95 cents, with the spot on trading outright these days, says dealers. The 1 week follows were quoted at 14 rupees and 28 rupees to the US dollar on Tuesday when it comes to Tuesday's edition of business rates. And in overseas stories, the Japanese stock market fell 5% on Tuesday on weaker banking shares after the Bank of Japan allowed negative interest rates, while a strong yen dragged down stocks across the board. The Japanese stock market fell to 16,139 points in mid-morning trade, while China and Hong Kong markets were closed for the Lunar New Year. Out of the Japanese financial stocks, Mitsubishi Financial Group fell 7.2%. Mitsu Financial Group dropped 6.6%, and Mitsu Financial Group shed 3.5%. The drop comes amidst less chance of the US Federal Reserve raising interest rates over worries of China and the impact of Japanese negative interest rates. The probability of a June Fed hike based on the CME Fed Fund futures fell to 16%, and a rate hike by December this year is down to 29%. Meanwhile, the MSCI's All-Country World Index has lost more than 18% from an all-time high that was reached in May, but fell just 0.4% on Tuesday as the majority of markets in the region were closed. And with that, we take a bow down on today's Business Today episode. Thank you very much for being part of today. We hope you have a splendid week ahead. Take care. Good night.